Good morning. You're listening to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. This morning, my guest is Stu Trau, the owner of P&Q Flooring in Doraville, Georgia. Stu, how you doing?
Just fine, Kemp. How are you today?
I'm good. You know, most people hear that name Doraville, and they think, where have I heard of that before? The Atlanta Rhythm section made that name famous, didn't they?
You're exactly right. Some years ago, I guess we're both divulging our age at this point, but yep, it's a little touch of country in the city.
That's right, and it's a suburb of Atlanta. You actually have a neat story. I want to get this out first. Your background is flooring. Your father had a carpet store. You spent most of your life in the flooring business because you worked for your dad, then you got into distribution, you worked for Home Depot, and you worked for a manufacturer. And then in 2009, the bottom of the recession, you opened this family-run, independent flooring, full-service retail store, right?
That's right. We all know life is a lot about timing, so my timing couldn't have been any better, if you will. You know, we managed to survive it and found a way to continue on our path.
Well, actually, if you start in the bottom, everything looks but up, right?
Well, and I had a guy told me, one of my managers years ago, said, you know, the best time to enter a market is at the bottom.
Right.
Because you don't take anything for granted. You work for everything you get. You value those positions and relationships, and you learn as you go.
Tell me a little bit about how business is doing since you've been, this is 8 years you've been in business.
Right. First 5 years, 4 or 5 years, we were basically an installation house to kind of weather the housing crisis, if you will. Mm-hmm. The only resource we had at our disposal was some really good installation crews, so we were able to make some relationships and kind of bolster the company with installation only, and then we got back into what I had been taught as a younger adult and through my earlier years in the industry, which was retail.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's your focus. You're in residential replacement business. You're full service. One of the issues as we listen to the people in the business is around having good installers. How have you managed that?
It's just been, I try not to be a micromanager in general, but being that we had such an emphasis on installation, because that's where we started, it was really just finding the right techs and making sure that they were like-minded as we were in our efforts to drive the customer satisfaction, and then we build around that.
Okay, so it's called P&Q, and your tagline is where price and quality meet. So that's what P&Q stands for, right?
Well, my daughter Parker and my son Quinn weighed heavily into my boss, my wife telling me, let's create a little legacy. And so we did, but then I needed a tagline, and over a bowl of, I think, Fruit Loops one morning, I came up with that one. Okay, well, it all seems to fit. Let me also compliment you on your website, because a lot of people have these websites, and if you just take your name away, it could be anybody's website. That's not what you've got, because you have our work. Really love that section, because you can go in and flip through pictures of recent installations you've done. That's true, and we kind of like to differentiate ourselves by the quality of the products and service and installation. We really focus on the customer's experience first and foremost. Yeah, and you have a section in your website called Style 101, too, so you know you're in the fashion business, right? Well, you have to be if you're going to cater. You know, we try to stay in the middle to better demographic as far as our retail goes. So, you know, you have to instill the confidence in the consumer that you can work with her on that level. Mm-hmm. All right. I also noticed that you have partners at the bottom of your website. You're tied in with real estate people, and that's smart because they're the ones that know when properties are changing hands, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've got a great relationship with one of the larger real estate companies here local to us, and so we try to nurture and foster those relationships with their agents. Yeah, and also noticed if I look at your website that you're fairly tied to Shaw Industries, because I guess you're a line dealer for them. Is that right? We are Shaw Flooring aligned. We've had a great experience with Shaw. They were great partners with us when we first started the brick and mortar venture, and it's been a great relationship. All right. So another reason I wanted to talk to you is while we've had these storms lately, you've actually kind of ramping up to help out, because we all know, especially in the Houston area, while there's some strong dealers down there, there's probably going to be more work than they can handle for people to get their homes fixed. And you've built a relationship with an insurance firm where you're going to be able to help with some of that as well, right? Yeah, most definitely. we're going to be drafting behind them in a couple different markets and throughout the Southeast based on our relationship, which gives us a great starting point as we move into these markets. So we look to expand on that relationship and get in the mix and see if we can't help get some people's lives back to some sense of normalcy.
How do you service that from an installation standpoint? You just have your people that are up in Doraville come down, or you get people down there to do the work?
It's actually a mix. We've brought on a couple of project coordinators who have been in the area for a while, and of course they have their resources. And our hard surface manager, Scott Highfield, is originally from there and did a good bit of work in the Houston market before moving to Atlanta. So he's going back home in a sense, and he's got a great sense, lay of the land, and some contacts is there. So it's going to be a blend of local and kind of imported techs to get these jobs done.
All right, one last question, Stu, I'd love to ask you is that you've worked for Home Depot, and now you have an independent flooring company. Who's going to win in that game? I mean, obviously, you see there's an opportunity for the independent retailer in spite of what they're doing, right?
Yeah, I was a department manager for the Depot for 3 or 4 years before moving over to Armstrong and then calling on the Depot for 4 or 5 years. So great perspective based on the experience there. And I was able to kind of identify, they do a lot of things right, but nobody gets them all, is something I like to say as far as the leads or the customers. So I was able to identify some opportunity that we might be able to capitalize on.
So you think the long-term health of the independent retailer still looks good, right?
It depends on their culture. If they want to fight that battle at their level, you're probably going to lose. Yeah. But like I said, if you can identify some of the things that they're not optimizing and that you could and kind of help differentiate yourself, then a lot of people like a more intimate, hands-on experience. Yeah.
Okay, great, Stu. It's great to catch up with you. Again, been talking to Stu Trau, the owner of P&Q Flooring in Doraville, Georgia, and you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.